Hi.
Hello.
Are you excited? How are you doing?
So I'm feeling like this is like role reversal. Obviously, Slay Sunday is now your show.
It's my show. Move
and I'm
over.
in the hot seat,
Yeah.
which is wicked. I'm like, I don't know what is going to be asked. I know that my producer Raf is going to be in your ear, and he's going to be like, I know he's probably prepped you and primed you all of the tricky questions.
We got everything. We're going to have some fun.
Yeah.
So what are you doing right now? What's going on in your life at the moment? What's happening?
Gosh. So this is the thing about me. I'm a heptathlon by trade and a heptathlete by nature. Heptathlete by trade and a heptathlete by nature, which means
that's a good motto.
At any given time, there's 7 things going on in my life. So currently, we just finished, obviously, Champs versus Stars with MTV. I'm currently pitching and, being pitched for various other TV shows in the entertainment arena. And those things always take time.
Yeah.
And so I pretty much spend my days, I say mornings, training. So I have clients. Cool. I'm a qualified trainer. So that's job number 3. And Slay Sunday, podcasting, which I've been really enjoying, just sitting down with really interesting people, getting to chat and just like, spill tea, which is always good fun. And then we're launching a clothing range, which is great, merchandise. I'm wearing a piece right now. I know, I'm so excited. This is like our swimsuit range, which I should be wearing around all pools around Los Angeles.
You have to. You have to rep the brand.
I'm super kind of busy and putting fingers in pies. We're also just about to launch our first live workout called Secret Slay on the 29th of July.
Slay.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of that, I saw that was on your Instagram.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and got some tickets.
I noticed.
So I'm excited for that. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. I'm excited.
Well, it is a secret slay. So
what can you tell us? Just a little bit.
So obviously I'd been working with various different brands. This year at ASICS, I opened a gym up in London as well, just a month ago. And the one thing that I absolutely love is being in a room with people and being able to kind of instruct and demonstrate and command and just have fun and inspire people. And so Secret Slay is effectively the opportunity for me to get out in public and do what I do, which is live fitness. Yeah. That's what I love.
Yeah, that's your space.
Totally. So, this is basically the first of our event series. And I wanted to build a little bit of anticipation.
You have.
I like the idea of not necessarily, letting people know where they're going to be, because it means that, for me, it gives me the flexibility to change a venue at last minute. If I think, oh, you know what, I've had a really cool idea, I'm going to run with it. From a creative perspective, it gives me huge freedom. So we could either be indoors, we could be outdoors, we could be upstairs, downstairs, in, out. All I know is it's going to be in Los Angeles. And that's, I think, I guess something quite unique. I don't know that that's being done in the fitness world, or people are able to sign up to events
and it's more exciting too. For someone like me, I'm like, I don't know what I'm walking into, but I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
And when I'm telling people that, I'm like, oh, it's a fitness event. They're like, where is it? I'm like, can't tell you yet. You're going to find out 24 hours before. And I think they're like, oh, it could be anything.
It could be anything.
So, my attitude is very much like it is on the challenge. Just be ready and down for whatever.
Oh gosh. Okay, this will prepare me for the challenge.
Yeah, totally.
So I want to dive right into your life growing up in England.
Yes.
Tell me about that and what kind of led you to be the athlete that you are today.
Oh gosh. 30 years of 30 or a couple years. So I was born in London, but I never experienced really ever living there. I was a baby when we moved from London, and I grew up in a very rural area called Thatcham, which is like well outside of London. There's not much there at all. And so I spent the first 10 years of my life just growing up there, having a normal childhood. I have 2 older brothers, mum, dad, just like, really kind of modest background. And I don't know why my mum and dad decided one day that they wanted to buy a pub. And so we moved across the country
for a pub.
Yeah, we moved to Cambridgeshire, which is where my dad's family is from. And my mum and dad, because I think everybody in that generation had this whole dream that they wanted to own pubs and stuff like that. So we bought this small hotel. It's called the Station Hotel. 7 bedrooms, 2 bars, lots of alcohol and lots of parties.
Sounds fun.
And so I pretty much spent the next, I'd say, 9 or 10 years just navigating my way through life, growing up in a pub. And
growing up at a pub.
I know, which is crazy because I'm like this crazy Olympian health freak. And, you know, I was exposed to that at the age of 10.
Wow.
And I realized at about the age of 10 that I was also this athlete as well. And that was, you know, when I moved over to Cambridgeshire, that was my first introduction to athletics. And that's when I started to, like, you know, check out the local club and go training. And I'd, you know, at that age we were training twice a week.
Yeah.
And then I started to win things in my local area, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm quite fast. I'm like challenging the boys.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're that age and everybody's kind of ability is almost the same, girls and boys, and so I would give the boys a good run for their money, I'm not gonna lie.
And so you knew you were fast.
Yes.
How did you get to be into track and field?
Yeah.
What made you want to do that?
So it was my dad actually that introduced me to athletics. We call it athletics, track and field. Yeah. And he was a distance runner. So he would run 800 meters and 1500. And so he was kind of like, come down to local track. Let me kind of introduce you to what it is or whatever. And then, I started to win. I started to become like area champion, regional champion. To the next point, I was being entered into a national schools event. And in my first year, I was running 100. So I was that speed freak. And I ended up coming in 4th place. And so that was like the biggest kind of experience or exposure to a stadium.
Yeah.
You know, crowds of probably about, I'd say maybe 5,000 to 10,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so
it was like a big college event.
Yeah. And you felt that's kind of how you kind of got used to being under pressure. You could handle those types of situations.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people get nervous and crack under that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people.
Really?
Yeah. If
no.
I have people looking at me, I get so nervous.
Well, how do you feel like in those scenarios?
I grew up playing tennis. So if I had a bunch of people around me watching me, I would choke.
Because you'd be more concerned with them than you are on the game.
It's hard to, but it seems like you're really laser focused.
Completely.
You can have whatever happening around you, and you're just still like, eyes on the prize.
Yeah,
got to do it.
Completely. There was this time. So that first year of the 100 meters, I came 4th, and I remember thinking, this is my first time in this environment. Coming 4th, that's pretty decent.
That's pretty good.
The next year, I went back, and I was just like, probably like, you know, probably in the top 8 on paper, so top 8 in the country. So I knew I had a chance to make the final. And I remember I would have been like 15 years old at this point, maybe a little bit. Yes, it was the year 2000. It was a good year for me.
That's a good year.
Millennium year. God, we're showing our age. And I can remember my team manager, because we all had team managers and they were usually a school teacher. My team manager, a guy called Mike McNeil, they would basically there to kind of usher you into the kind of final checking room before you ran. And I can remember him like coming home and just being like, "You all right, Lou?" I remember being like, "Yeah, I'm good." And I remember winking at him. And I knew on that day I was going to come home with the gold. I knew I was going to win it. At that point, I was just like, this is my race. And on paper, I was probably the 3rd fastest going into the final. And I remember as soon as I got out of my starting blocks and like, you know, stood up into full stride and just powering past girls. And I remember crossing the finish line, just dipping for the finish line and literally looking left and right and not seeing anyone, because they were just like, you know, maybe even an inch behind. And I kept shaving off in that competition, like shaving down my time. And I can remember looking up into the stands and seeing my dad up there, and I was just like, come on.
Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Would you say your dad inspires you the most, or has inspired you?
100%. And, you know, sadly, I lost him in 2008. He had a heart attack. And so I can remember from that very moment, I remember celebrating with him, and we'd probably been on that road, that athletics journey, for about 5 years at that point. And I remember, fast forward, probably to 2000, and he passed in 2008. So fast forward 2006, 2007, we were celebrating the fact that the Olympics was going to be hosted in London. And so he'd been very much a huge player in my career and my support network. And so losing him was, you know, it was a massive tragedy and a massive loss for me.
And I bet that pushed you, though, to do it for him.
Yeah. So the weird thing was, I think, and you know, I guess a person that's lost someone might be able to comprehend this, but a person that has, you know, yet to lose someone might not. I think losing him really taught me who I was as a person. And so it made me understand, oh, he actually prepared me for this all of his life. He kind of gave me all of the tools that I needed in order to get through this.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing a parent can really hope to do. It made me really think about when I become a mother and things like that, what's my duty? And I can remember, you know, obviously us saying our final goodbyes, I remember thinking, do you know what? It's not going to be the same. Our lives will never be the same, and they're not supposed to be. You know, we're meant to grow and evolve. And I can remember feeling very grateful for having a person who was so strong and like just a really just a good person and a great person to like learn stuff from.
Yeah.
And I talk to a lot of my friends. Some people have great dads, some people have absent dads, some people have no dads. And I'm like, the fact that I had a good one and I was lucky to have a good one, I'm very grateful for that, no matter how long or short his life may have been.
Yeah. And you can pass those lessons that he taught you on.
Totally.
And you'll have that. I totally get that because I lost my mom. So I totally understand what that's like. And I didn't realize until after. I was like, oh, she taught me all this stuff. And I was like, you're so annoying making me play tennis every day. Like, and now I'm like, oh my God, I'm so grateful that she, you know, all the things that she taught me. So I totally.
And what do you think her lasting kind of legacy for you is? What's the thing that she left you with that you'll be forever grateful for?
That's tough. You know, I think she just taught me a lot. She was really like, she would speak her mind and she would always stand up for herself. And I was always so quiet and shy. And if anyone was ever walking all over me, I just let it happen. And now that she's not here anymore, I kind of hear her voice in my head being like, stand up for yourself. So I stand up for myself more now. And I feel like I have her with me to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I remember for probably a good year and a half, I felt like my dad's presence was always there. And it was like, you never feel like they've actually gone.
I know.
And it's a very, it's an interesting thing because whilst I'm not religious, I've become deeply spiritual.
Same.
And there's definitely an energy that surrounds me that gives me the confidence to keep moving forward.
Totally.
And I don't know whether many people have experienced that. It's great to hear that you kind of feel that presence as well.
Totally. I always feel it. I always feel like she's there no matter what I'm doing. I always think, what would she do? And I just feel like a sense of calm almost. I definitely become more spiritual.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's nice. It's just like a comfort.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, going back to you being a natural leader, you've always been, since I've seen you on the show, both seasons, you're such a leader from...
Boss.
Yeah, you are. You just kind of command and everyone is just sort of drawn to you and is like, yes, I'll do what you say. Because you were just a natural born leader. So how did have you always been that way? Kind of be able to like command a room, really?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think we're going through, and this is really interesting. I had a conversation the other day, which made me really think about actually the terminology that I use. The word bossy, I don't kind of use anymore because it just insinuates like a bossy little girl or whatever. My mum would say, "Oh, you've always been bossy." I'm like, "No, I've always been the boss." Yeah. And then I met someone the other day who's like, "Are you the boss though?" Or are you the owner? And I'm just like, oh my goodness, like I'm the owner. Like I've always been a person who has owned my kind of life, my destiny. Where am I going? I've always been a person who invests in, my business and invests in myself. And I'm also the boss as well at various times. I'm the person that runs or, you know, drives projects or whatever it is I'm passionate about forwards and makes those things a reality. And I kind of, a lot of the time I have multiple hats. I'd say most of the time I'm like, you know, the boss or the owner. And then there are certain times when, like today, I have to take a back seat. And I'm just like, this is a place where I'm, for me, is like an interesting dynamic. And so
this is new for you.
Yeah. And it's great for me because it gives me an ability to learn. And I think I've always been that person that just has that innate ability to know what needs to be done. And that obviously has lent itself, that characteristic and personality trait of mine has been able to lend itself so seamlessly to sport.
Totally.
When you have to make those split-second decisions. You know, how much do you move your mark back in the long jump so that you don't make a no jump and miss your shot of going to the World Championships or the Olympic Games? Like, you know, those decisions are so important, and you have to be able to do it fast and do it with conviction and trust.
Yeah, you have to be confident about those decisions, I feel.
100%. And no more so weirdly than in the events where you're not so good. Like the high jump, which is a really interesting event.
Yeah.
And I'll talk you through, like, you know, you have a marked run up.
Right.
So you have a set amount of space in which to make all of your strides. And there are certain times when you either come into that mark really like a little bit too fast, which then puts you right under the bar and you have to adjust and chop down your stride and still try.
All in that couple milliseconds.
Exactly. And that's it. As soon as you take off, you're up in the air and your body's going to do whatever it's going to do. And you have to do your best to just get your ass out the way of the bar and get over the bar as quickly as possible.
So you're thinking in that moment. That seems like a lot of thinking. There are a lot of steps in that. It's not just like, all right, I'm going to go. And...
So, well, the weird thing is, I think when you actually execute in sport, your brain switches off and it just almost goes into autopilot.
Yeah.
And so you're visualizing a lot of the time the shot or the jump or the throw, and then you switch off, go onto autopilot and execute. And that's something that requires an ability of, it's almost like a coldness. It's like, right, this is what needs to be done. I shut down. And you probably see this sometimes in the challenge. Like, I might come across and I'm completely glazed over, and that's when I'm at my most dangerous.
That's in your zone.
Yeah, and at my fiercest, I think.
That's scary.
It is.
I bet for the other people, they're looking at you like, all right, don't talk to Louise right now. She's in her zone. But that I feel you have to be.
Yeah, it's just a level that I go to in order, like it's, you know, I think what I've come to realize is not everybody has that level. Not everyone can tap into that level of their brain where their awareness is heightened, their adrenaline is heightened, and they're channeling it all into one particular task.
Right.
Yeah, they call it like peak flow. So it's almost a state of heightened awareness, and it's like the optimal zone for performance. When you hear about that, oh, she's in the zone or he's in the zone, that's the that's the place where I like to operate from.
How did you learn to do that? Or is that just kind of a natural thing that you've just kind of been able to do? Is that just you, or is there a certain time in your life where you were able to kind of put those pieces together and just be able to zone in on something?
I think it's a natural thing, to a point. And some days you can get into your flow easier than others. Sometimes it's just there. Sometimes, you know, as a competitor or even just in life, you just wake up and you feel good. And you're like, right, anything anyone throws at me today, I'm on it. Like nothing can touch me. I'm literally just on the ball. And then other days, like the slightest thing might just piss you off.
Right.
And so it's like you might hit your knee on a hurdle in warm up. And then lo and behold, you hit your knee on the same hurdle in the race. You know, so it's just like life. It's like, how are you going to react? How are you going to absorb what the environment and what the world is throwing at you? You're going to internalize it and throw something out that's more powerful and better, or you're going to internalize it and let it affect you.
Yeah, that's really interesting, the way you can navigate going through hurdles. You kind of use that metaphor as navigating through life. And that's a really interesting way to look at it.
Definitely. Every day is a hurdles race.
Yeah.
100%.
It is a hurdles race. So I want to talk to you about the Olympics
Yeah.
because I was actually there at
In
the
London.
2012 Olympics, but I didn't see athletics. I
What
was
events
just
did you
there.
see?
I was just there for the first week, so I just saw the gymnastics and the swimming and tennis.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to see the amazing Louise Hazel compete.
Oh,
But
Annie, you missed
I know,
out.
I know. I'm
Kind
so.
of.
My brother was there that part. But what was it like the Olympics being in London? That must have been so exciting.
It was insane.
You didn't have to travel.
No, it was just down the road. It was like,
No.
okay.
Yeah.
So we, like I said, 2000, I think 6, they announced the games. So it was 6 years before. I can remember me and my dad celebrating in the bar and just being like, come on, this is like the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Not many athletes get to compete at home games, like, you know, at any time in their career. And so there was just this sense of, this is my time.
Yeah.
And that's my destiny. And from a young age, I knew that I was a sportswoman, but it was in 2006 that I realised I was going to be an Olympian and a home Olympian. And I just set to work.
Yeah.
And, you know, my dad passing away 2 years later didn't deter me after that World Championships. After that, I won the gold medal in the Commonwealth Games. And then 2 years later, I found myself walking into the Olympic Stadium. And I can remember, I think it was like the 7th of August, 2012. And I was the first British athlete to enter the track.
Wow.
And so the crowd, when they saw my vest and they saw the first British athlete that was going to take part, just erupted. 80,000 people just,
Did you let that get to you, or you were, you must have been excited, but
I can remember just walking out there and just like nodding and just like, you know what I mean? Thank you guys for turning up, because they were about to change the way that every single athlete in that arena competed. That crowd, the electricity, the support. And I'd been at, you know, championships before where other athletes take advantage of the home crowd.
Yeah.
And so you really feel it. It's almost like having another teammate.
Yeah.
Or someone 100%. Just to give you that extra boost. And I can remember at the time walking out like down the tunnel, and you're seeing people like, they're like, good luck Louise, and these are all officials,
right?
But they're all English, so they all know your name, and you feel like you're at home. And so the German girl or the Russian girl behind you is feeling
not not at home,
not your day, this is our day, let's roll.
Yeah.
And so I remember coming out in the hurdles, having a bit of a rough race. It wasn't the best for me, and that's normally where I get off to a really good start. And I was like, crap, my body just doesn't feel like it's firing the way it used to, or the way it should do. And I came into the high jump and the second event, and I cleared my opening height, and I hit the bar off on my third attempt of my second height, which means I bombed out of the high jump. So my Olympic dream, like my dream of finishing in the top 12, the top 8, was gone after the second event. And so I was like, shit, you know, this is more than 6 years in the making. And I can remember having my head in my hands and just being in absolute despair, like, I didn't plan for this. And I can remember hearing a little girl's voice in the crowd saying, we love you, Louise. Aww. And I was just like, oh my God. I have to show that little girl, even though I can't remember where she was. I didn't see her. I just heard her voice, that you don't give up. And I just got back out there. I went, you know, took my spikes off, went under the stadium where our resting rooms are, put my head down, and then came to the shot put and threw like I think it was probably a season's best, or maybe even a personal best, and then smashed the shit out of the 200. And I was just so like angry at myself, and I thought, this is my track, this is my event. And I remember tearing it up around the bend, and I can remember the former Olympic champion being like way behind me, and I have that race to remind me, like, that's the person you are, like the person that literally take a knock, bounce back. And then I remember having a shit jump in the long jump as well on the second day, and then coming out in the javelin and throwing, I think, 3 meters further than I'd ever thrown in my life, and just letting out the most almighty roar.
That's like a movie. Yeah.
It was just insane. And then like I had an average 800. And I can remember standing there as my 800 finished, watching my teammate Jessica Ennis run round to the gold medal and just like, come on, and she's absolutely killing it. And, you know, in that moment when you're emotional about your own performance, but then you're uplifted by the girl that's been next to you competing, training for the past 10 years, and you see all of her dreams come true, I was just like, bravo, sister. I felt like the victory was not only hers, but also a shared victory. It was like it was the country's victory.
Exactly.
So it's like the Olympic Games, home Olympic Games, incredible.
I mean, there's really only a handful of people who can talk about that and who have had that experience. But
and of course, it's coming to Los Angeles.
I know.
What year? 22,
not for
26, 2026.
It's not. It's 2 in 2 Olympics.
Yeah. So I feel like, what are we in now? 2016, 2020.
Yeah, I wonder how that's going to be.
2024.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Dope.
So that's going to be fun.
Ooh.
Are you excited?
Oh, God,
you have to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't started planning for
it's
like
hosting
a lot of years. I need to get my fingers.
You got to get
totally
going on that because that's so exciting.
Totally.
Oh,
that's one not to be missed.
No, definitely not.
And to see like the Olympic Stadium restored to its former beauty would be amazing as well.
I know.
Actually, I saw Caitlyn Jenner last night.
You
at the
did?
ESPYs. Yeah.
Oh. Did you get to say hi?
I did.
You did?
I was like, hi,
what was
Caitlyn.
that like?
I'm like, I'm Louise, I'm a heptathlete. And she was like, oh, you are?
No way.
I was just like, yeah.
That's so funny.
So we talked about you
had a full conversation.
We were having a nice little walk to maybe like a good 2 or 3 minutes, and she was saying, she was basically asking me, you know, what I'd done. I was like, I did London, I did the Commonwealth Games, won the gold at Commonwealth Games. And she was like, and obviously like Daley Thompson is an athlete that was of her era.
Right.
And she would have competed against, I'm sure, or possibly before. And we were just kind of recounting stories about Daley, who's such a character in the UK, a former decathlete as well. And it was nice. And I could see that she was kind of reminiscing of her old kind of decathlon days.
Yeah.
And I just said how, you know, there's this huge movement to want to change the heptathlon into the decathlon, which would mean that we would have to take up the pole vault, and I wasn't here for that. I
did pole vaulting in middle school.
It's like a kamikaze.
So
I just don't know why.
It's so hard.
It's hard enough as one event. Why would you want to make it one of 10? That's just nuts.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so fun. So you were at the ESPYs last night.
I was indeed, as were you.
Yeah, I was. I know. I was lame though. I left early. Yeah. I was. But tell me about how was that? Must have been so fun.
So much fun.
Did you get to catch up with anyone you hadn't seen in a while?
Well, yeah. So the invitation came through my friend Kimmelman Wembley. Former NFL players, played for the Raiders, and we met on the Challenge Champs versus Pros. And he was like, Lulu, come on, we're going out. We'd planned it for, you know, a few months. He was like, come to, and I was just like, all right, let's do it. And so, but lastminute.com, because I didn't know where I was going to be, I was just like, okay, right. So now I need a dress. I need to do my hair. And I was just like, okay, I had clients in the morning, and I had about an hour and a half to get ready. And I was just like, this is as good as it's going to get. And I remember posting a picture on Instagram. This is as good as it gets for me tonight. Yeah. I didn't even paint my nails. And normally those events are just so, you get your makeup in, you get your hair person in, you have your stylist. I was just like, I need to just pick me out a dress.
Well, you found a good dress, and that's really the most important thing.
I'm not going to lie, it was pretty dope.
It was really a nice dress.
Thanks, Anne.
I love the gold and the sequins.
Oh, bless you.
I love the flashy.
It was wicked. Yeah, but we bumped into Sean Merriman, who was also on the show. Had a lovely chat with Caitlyn Jenner, Candice Parker, Tori Bowie, and who else did I chat to? Oh, Tristan Thompson as well. He was out last night. Yeah. Everybody was out.
Everyone was there.
Yeah.
Everyone.
It was fun. Victor Cruz was out. It was really good fun. It was nice. And it was nice to be at an American version of that.
Right.
I've been to the one in the UK, but the scale of the ESPYs is just on another
it's
level.
crazy. The amount of people that are there.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's really fun.
Did you chat to anyone? Who's like your favorite athlete in the room?
Sloane Stephens. She's a tennis player.
I didn't meet Sloane Stephens.
She's so cute. She's really a cool person. And
so she trains out of Los Angeles as well, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, I am all about tennis and the USTA. So that was why I was there.
Got you.
So yeah, it's
Amazing.
I don't know.
And did you stay right until the end of the awards where they honoured the girls, the gymnasts?
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I was in tears.
I know.
So
I mean, I know it's a lot about like women and kind of like strong women, and I thought that was a really cool theme that they stuck with.
Totally. And I think it's, it's timely now with all of the discussions that we're having. So there was, I think, 140 survivors of the American gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar, who had kind of committed this widespread abuse for 30 years. And like seeing those women up there on the stage was so moving and so powerful. In the fact that they almost all came together as one and one voice. Oh my gosh. I remember thinking, I'm going to, leave early. I'm so glad that I stayed for that.
Because it's so special.
Yeah. And what I found was really interesting was seeing those 140 women up on the stage, and there would have been multiple stories at some point with regards to the abuse that was going on. And all it required was one adult.
Right.
To stand up and say, there's something really not right going on here. And I kind of felt like I looked up on that stage and I saw everybody's daughter.
Yeah.
And so I hope that those people that should have said something and could have said something that were in power in that organisation at the time understand that that was their daughter standing up there. What they did,
yeah.
That was their daughter that they failed to protect.
Yeah.
Because if there's 140 and there's 300 that came forward, imagine the amount of people that didn't come forward.
Didn't come forward and maybe won't and are having to live with that.
Yeah, 100%. And so I think we need to be more mindful, mothers and fathers, about the way in which we treat our children when they present to us information, new information, whether we like it or not, and the way in which we take that seriously and what we do in order to act. Let's not be reactive, let's be proactive, especially when it comes to the protection of our youngsters.
Yeah, and as negative as a situation that was, the only positive that came from it was, here's what we know not to do.
Yes.
Here's what we can do moving forward to make sure this doesn't happen again, because that's insane. So many of those girls.
And I didn't know the depth of the story up until that point. And so what I kind of felt was there was a certain amount of naivety as to the doctor knows better than me as to how to treat my back problems. And therefore these things are an acceptable means of treatment. And that, that was abuse in the highest sense. And it just pains me. And I know because I've grown, I've been in that scenario in sport myself, where I've had to, make a complaint because I felt like a physio was being inappropriate. But I was of an age, when it happened to me, I was of an age when I was old enough to know better.
Right.
And I was old enough to tell someone very clearly that person needs a good talking to because what they're doing isn't right. And actually not only are they being inappropriate with me, but I've seen them being inappropriate with other athletes. And more importantly, I'm not worried about me because I know I can get myself out of these scenarios very easily, and I'm very vocal. However, what I'm concerned about is the girl that walks into the room and doesn't know her voice.
Right, who isn't going to say.
Right, exactly. And so there's widespread abuse, there is widespread abuse and abuse of power still going on in sport today. We know that. Totally. As a fact.
So did you feel like you could kind of relate to those girls since you had experienced something similar, that must have been even more powerful for you?
Yeah, definitely. And this is the first time, and I think it's really important. I remember I was at the World Championships in 2011. So we were only talking a few years back. And I remember receiving treatment from a physiotherapist. And I would have been lying down, kind of semi-clothed at that point, probably crop top and shorts on. And I was having acupuncture in my back. And so the needle was actually in my back and I'm face down and I'm having to kind of breathe nice and deeply and stay relaxed because there's one point in my back that would always spasm and sometimes bend the needle if I wasn't careful. And I can remember the physiotherapist at the time, and we were the only people left in the camp. We were going into that decathlon very late. And I can remember him stroking me, like stroking my back whilst I'm on the table. And I'm kind of like,
something's,
you know, him saying, are you all right? And stroking me up and down. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm fine, thanks. And I was very abrupt about it. And I was like, in that moment in time, I felt really vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because I had a needle in my back. I couldn't get up off the couch because like anything could happen that could move, that could really injure me. I'm just about to go into the World Championships. And I just remember him also just coming up to me at various moments and like, you know, massaging my shoulders in the room full of people. And I remember telling my therapist at the time, I'm not happy with this guy and the way he's treating me. And I can remember seeing her face when he came into the room, made a beeline for me and was just like, hi. And her face, she was sitting next to me, was like, fucking hell.
Oh my
God.
I
didn't realise that he's doing this so blatantly.
Right.
And so obviously that it's open and therefore acceptable. No, I didn't ask you to come in here and start rubbing up my shoulders. We don't have a relationship like that.
No.
And so I remember, you know, speaking to a higher up authority and him being disciplined verbally, I imagine, as opposed to anything else. But
at least, I mean,
yeah,
you know, and I feel like it's just when you're in the most vulnerable situation, that's kind of like a predator, you know, that's what they do.
100%. And what was really interesting to me, I think his reaction was, oh, I didn't realise. And I'm like, well, if you don't realise, then you're in the wrong profession.
Right.
Quite simply, because if you don't realise that you're touching people inappropriately, whether it be stroking, and I can remember him, you know, then you're in the wrong profession. Go and do something where it doesn't require touching people. Quite simply.
Jeez, I mean, it's your job. Like, you'd think like
it's to be able to exercise an element of judgment.
Wow, you'd think, but
100%.
Wow. Well, back to the Olympics. I want to know about your time living in the Olympic Village.
Oh my goodness.
Was it as crazy as I can imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some. Like that, plus a few things sprinkled on top.
Yeah, great transition.
You were there during, so you watched the swimming and you watched the gymnastics.
Yeah. Oh, I got to watch, you know, Gabby Douglas.
Yeah.
So that was exciting, you know. That was fun.
And the thing is, I think every athlete loves watching the gymnastics.
Yeah, it's just so fun. I mean, I don't know anything about gymnastics, but it's just so fun. I'm like, you can flip like that.
Exactly. And I think your inner child is just like,
yeah.
Oh, God, I
want to do a backflip.
Exactly. And then, so after the first week of competition, the gymnasts are done, the swimmers are done, the parties start. And so as soon as you're finished with your kind of competition, and ours was the first day of athletics, I then had a good 10 days in the village just to party. And so you're just basically given a free pass to go to any club in London. Alcohol, I put on so much weight. Like there are pictures of me, I'm like, I don't even look in shape, because you're coming home and you've got free McDonald's and you're just drinking and eating McDonald's and just being an absolute hot mess for that 2 weeks. And people are like, oh, you know, no, it is a riot, an absolute riot. And, you know, I said it once, I've said it again, I'm surprised there aren't many, you know, more Olympic babies.
I was just going to say, I heard, tell me the truth on this, that they pass out condoms.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And I remember going to the medical centre and literally, because everybody, it's this huge room that go down. And you go to your medical centre and it's like, right, guys, where are the condoms?
Yeah, yeah.
And they're like, we've run out. And we're like, what?
No, really.
Oh my goodness. No, we run out on the first
We
day.
really ran out.
And so I think it's just part of the bravado. Everyone goes to get their Olympic condoms or whatever. The Olympics sponsored by Durex. And but it's true. Like, but I think everybody just likes the idea that, you know what I mean? But honestly, athletes are.
Well, you're surrounded by a bunch of Olympians.
Completely. And that a lot of those, they're just a different breed.
Right.
A completely different breed. Like the sports person is probably we're the most animalistic, because everything we do is based on, you know, reacting to emotion and instinct and, you know, like the chase and the hunt, and that's the male and the female.
Yeah.
And so imagine when you combine all of the alpha males in the sporting world with all of the alpha females in the sporting world, and everything in between. The dynamics are just
to be
electric.
a fly on the wall.
Exactly. And a lot of so here's the thing about the Olympics. This was 2012, so this would have been early Instagram, even if that even
I remember
existed.
I started my Instagram in 2012.
Yeah, early Instagram. So it could have been much more lit than it was. So there was no sliding in the DMs.
Yeah.
You just slide into people's periphery in the dinner hall. And so and so there'd be a number of different countries that would be the worst for this, like Jamaica. They'd always come in kind of cool and like, you know, calculate. And then, you know what I mean? Cool, calculated approach. And they'd take the time. They were in no rush to make babies just yet. But by the time the week's out, you know what I mean? They're all over it. So, yeah. And it's just really funny. Everybody's kind of heightened.
Yeah, I mean.
I can remember hanging a lot of the time with some of the Team GB basketball guys.
Oh, fun.
And I would sit in the dinner hall with them and just eat and chill and, you know, and then all of the team like USA guys would come through and I'm just like, geez, they're massive compared to our guys. And we had like Luol Deng, who ended up at the Lakers recently. And weirdly, I bumped into him. I remember arriving in LA, maybe last year before. I just bumped into him on Sunset. I'm like, Lou? He's like, Lou? And I'm just like,
oh my God. You know, Luol Deng went to my high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Not at the same time, but I'm always like, Luol Deng went to my high school.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys are so sweet.
They're so cool. I mean, basketball is so fun.
Yeah. I did manage to get down to the Staples Center to watch a game.
Oh, you did?
In fact, it was Sean Merriman that took me down. So thank you, Sean, for my first introduction.
Yeah.
It was good fun. But I'll be going down now. Because obviously LeBron James, the hype is going to be off the chain.
I know. I'm really not. I don't know much about basketball. But now I feel like I have to be a fan.
Yeah, I think so. I think LA is going to be lit.
Litty. Yeah. Ooh.
It is.
So let's see. I mean, I was going to ask you how participatory you were in the craziness going on.
I was leading the charge. I think we established that earlier. You were like, are you a leader? I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
So I was like waving the
you're
flag. I'm like, hop on the bus. We don't know where we're going, but it's going to be good.
Okay, so I have to ask you about the challenge now.
Yeah.
Because that's really my favorite show. It's everyone's favorite show, I think.
It's nuts. Like when I was out last night, the amount of people that came up to me.
No, I did people?
Yeah, at the ESPYs and talked about just like,
the challenge.
I hated you on the challenge because you were so horrible to Wes, but I loved you on the challenge because you just put everyone in their place.
Wow, they were just being straight up with you.
And there was just so many people. I was just like, whoa, this is such... for me, I still have no idea of the impact of the show.
I mean,
like it's really a part of people's childhoods. And, you know, there was a couple that came up to me last night saying, you are our son's favourite. And I was just like, oh, wicked.
Not even for the Olympics, for the challenge.
Yeah, for the challenge. I'm just like, I'm Louise the Olympian, but it's all good. I'm Louise in the challenge. Whatever. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
But the show is just as my first introduction to America and entertainment.
Really?
Because in the UK, I'd, you know, done a number of different television shows.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's a much smaller kind of market, so there's only
Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's a fun one.
It is a goodie. So the challenge is just like it's such a funny show for me because there's a part of me that takes it deadly serious when it comes down to the competition, and the reality side I'm just like, yeah, whatever. But then there are just times when my personality I just have to be a little bit of mischief.
Well, yeah, and I feel like maybe that's why they brought you back, because you you're good at playing the game. I mean, like, competitions aside, it's not just about the competitions, it's about the gameplay, and I feel like you've mastered that. Totally. You're always thinking.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you're in those crazy social scenarios whereby, right, today you're going to do this big puzzle, or you're going to compete and do this crazy thing, and then we're going to film you for the rest of the day interacting with a bunch of strangers that we've just thrown you together with, some of which are your peers and you'll have, you know, great connections with and great things to bond about, and other people you're going to have nothing in common with whatsoever, and they're going to try and rile you up.
Right.
And so there's a part of you that needs to know that, and this is how I approach the challenge, I've opened myself up to this. I've allowed this in my life. So with the good, i.e. the actual physical challenge and the competition bit, I accept all of that in.
Yeah.
I accept the challenge. I'm going to take it on, and whatever happens, happens. And then the bad, I also have to accept all of the nonsense that comes with it, the arguments, the politicking, you know, the noise, the alcohol, because this is what I've opened myself up to. And if we talk about being an owner, let's talk about ownership. Like, own, okay, you know, you've said you're going to take part in this show. I'm going to take part in all of it. I'm going
to really take part in this show.
Exactly.
Yeah. What would you say so compared from champs versus pros, champs versus stars, what was it different being last time you were with all pros? It was all pro athletes. This time, not everyone was an athlete. Yeah. Was that, do you think, a disadvantage?
100%. It was massive disadvantage because when you walk into a room with 9 other athletes, you know you're all on the same page.
Right.
And you're all cut from the same cloth. And you know that collectively you all want to win. And so there's an understanding. I expect you to come and play and come and play hard.
Yeah, regardless.
Yeah, because you came here for the same reasons that I did. Now, when you step into it with a celebrity as your teammate, you don't necessarily know what their motivations are.
Yeah.
Is it airtime? Is it a new, you know, single or product that they've got out that they want to promote? And so you're not as, you can never be as confident in them as you are as the athletes, which is why in this series I chose Casper.
Yeah.
Because to me, he reflected the same kind of things that I reflect.
Athlete.
Yeah. And he had the athlete mentality and he wanted to be there. And he wanted, from the minute the stars, the champs threw him in against Arian Foster, he was invested. And he's like, oh, you're all going home now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're going to throw me in the first time?
That was the switch.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, Casper, I see you.
Yeah.
And you are now my partner. We are working together, my friend.
So that's funny you said that. Do you think there were any stars there that you were like, come on, you're not trying to compete. You're not really here to compete. You're just here for your single or your whatever.
The first person, Drake. I would have said Drake is not there to compete whatsoever. And actually in the reunion, they revealed him, you know, trying to leave the set.
I know.
Now, the thing that happened with Drake, and I love this kid, I absolutely love him. He switched. The next day he was there. He was in the bus early. And we were expecting not to see him. We genuinely thought he'd left the show. Yeah. And the rumor was that he'd left. But when he came back with ferocity and more passion and more desire than ever. And all of a sudden it was just like, yo, we've been sleeping on Drake.
He's an athlete.
He's turned up. And all of a sudden when we formed that 4 corners, he was just like, right, what have we got to do?
Yeah.
Who's next?
He has heart.
Yeah, definitely. And he just, every single time, like, would just go down gunning, fighting, leaving it all on the table. And I think that comes down to his like upbringing. Like his mum's this world champion pool player. I don't know. Pool or snooker. Yeah,
that's so interesting.
And so he has a fire in him. Like he describes it as champion blood, and I fully endorse that. Yeah.
Wow, Drake. Who would have known?
I know.
He's awesome. Who was your favorite, other than Casper and Drake? Who was your favorite star?
Little Mama.
I was gonna ask you about Little Mama.
She's literally like my little sister.
Yeah.
Like I have, and so I've never had a sister. Like I grew up having 2 older brothers.
Yeah.
And so there are certain girls that I meet in my life that I'm just like, oh, you're my little sister that I never had. Oh. And so like when we met on the challenge, it was like, I can remember her coming on the bus and automatically she gravitated to the people she knew. And I think that that's, you know, indicative of someone who grows up in New York. It's like, okay, you know, that turf thing. I know this person, I feel comfortable around that person. She wasn't sure about me whatsoever.
Yeah.
And that was really apparent because it was just like, there wasn't much communication. So I was like, okay, she's going to take a while to warm up. Right. And it turns out she's also a Libra. We're born 2 days apart.
There you go.
And so we just kind of took our time sussing each other out. And what I noticed about her is she's like me as an observer and a listener. So she would listen to what I have to say. And then she would make a judgment about me rather than, she wasn't thinking any particular way about me. She was just thinking, I don't know this person. and you have to earn her
I'm going to
trust.
be observant
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. And so we come at things from a lot of different, like a similar approach. And so we just ended up bonding and being like the best of friends.
That's
We
so
went to
fun.
the reunion. We went out a couple of nights. Like we've been just hanging out. She's been to stay with me. I think she's down in Atlanta at the moment recording her album.
Fun.
And yeah, we're able to just kind of talk and just talk on a very deep level about our ambitions and life and the struggles that we've both been through. She also lost her mother. And just like share and do what women do, which is support one another. And I really feel like we're now in an era, 2017 I feel was very, very pivotal moment for women. Much like the suffragette movement.
Right.
This is a point at which we said, you know what, enough's enough. And 2008 is laying the foundations of what is to come. And so what's really interesting, I'm having a lot of conversations at the moment about Slay and what this brand means to me. And, I feel like I had conversations with Little Mama about we need to uplift women. We need to empower women. And we need to like support one another. Like we need to give people platforms and opportunities to share, grow and develop. And we're the start of that, because I feel like too often in the past we constantly pit ourselves one against one another in a competitive way. And there's a time to be competitive, but may the best lady win.
And be supportive regardless. And in what other arena would you be friends with Lil Mama?
I know.
Like, coming from,
I know. Probably just be rap battles.
Can you rap?
Apparently. I've got a few bars.
Really? I was gonna say, can we hear some?
I've got nothing.
Okay.
I've got nothing. I'm pretty sure there are some to come on one episode, but they're not good. They're not very good. Yeah, you don't need to.
That's okay.
You don't need to spend too much time there.
That's all right. Okay, we'll move on from rap. So you and Wes had kind of a cheeky love-hate relationship.
Oh, we still do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you guys still keep in touch, or
Yeah.
and how much of that was kind of for the dramatics of the
it's
show?
all
Were you
real. All real. He literally called me the other day and he's like, Lou, I've got this knee problem. Oh, he texts me, he's like, long message, and I'm just like, oh God, what does he want now? I'm like, oh, he's got a knee problem. All right, then I'm like, I'll text you back. I'll FaceTime you in a minute. And he's like, is that now? I'm like, it's going to be whenever I say and whenever I'm available.
Is he really like
he's so
that?
controlling.
Yeah.
And I like to keep him on his toes. So I FaceTime him and I'm like, Wes, what are you doing in that granddad chair? And he's like, this is my sofa. And I'm just like, you really need to up your game, dude. You really are like letting yourself go. And I kind of talked him through how to kind of rehabilitate his knee. And he said it's feeling better already. So that's good. You're welcome, Wes. Anytime. I'll send you the bill. Just tell me the address. So yeah, we genuinely have this love-hate relationship. And everything you saw on the challenge, Champs versus Stars, was real. Yeah. He was genuinely pissed off with me.
Oh, really?
When he said, I hate Louise, he meant it. Wow. And I was just like, where's he there?
We're friends.
Don't hate me. We're friends. Like, I just don't want to do this thing with you.
Yeah.
It was like being in the playground.
Yeah.
When you can, when it's like, oh, you have to pick your best friend.
Right.
And then it was like, Casper's my best friend today.
Yeah.
But we can still be friends though. And then he was like, I don't want to be number one.
Oh, poor Wes.
So that was really cute. And we have a lot of respect for one another.
Yeah, it's all in good fun.
Totally. And he's an excellent businessman. And he really is, I don't want to give him too much credit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say excellent. I'm going to say good athlete. Okay. He's a good athlete.
He is. Well, you did let him win in hurdles.
Didn't let it. This is the thing. Props to Wes. He knew he won that fair and square.
He was in
He
your
jumped
head.
the gun. It's as simple as that. I mean, like, the thing about Wes is he thinks he's smarter than he is. Yeah, you do. Just so you know. So he went through this whole rigmarole of, oh, show me those hurdles drills, Louise. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to do these hurdles drills. And then he came along and made it look really crap.
Yeah, he acted like he sucked.
Yeah. And I'm like, no man in their right mind would, most people would say, do you want to have a sprint race?
Right.
No one in their right mind would say, do you want to have a hurdles race, unless they couldn't hurdle. unless they could hurdle at a decent enough level. And I knew that he'd been practicing. He already told me. So at that moment in time, it was a case of, am I going to indulge Wes today or not? And he was like, come on, let's do this thing. And I'm like, I haven't warmed up. Like, we've been playing the game all day. I'm really not feeling it. And he was just like, come on. And I could see it meant a lot to him. So I was like, okay, cool. So in that moment, when I stepped on the finish, like on the start line to race Wes for that 25-meter hurdle sprint, he beat me.
How did that feel?
Fine.
Yeah. I mean,
it's fine. To me, it was like a gift. I'm like,
a gift you gave to him.
Yeah. I'm like, he knows. I think he knows in his heart of hearts, if he really wanted to have a hurdles race with me and I was to have a good warm up, bring the blocks out, set it up on proper spacings, he'd be smoked. He knows that. But, I want him to have that victory.
Let him have this one.
Yeah. He deserves it.
He deserves it.
And I kind of felt like, we'd put him through the ringer. And so it was like, okay, I can tell like he'd prepared for this moment. He'd been doing all his hurdles drills. And if not, it would have just been a waste. Exactly. And I actually really like him as a person, even though he annoys me. Yeah. So good job, Wes.
It sounds like a little bit of charity, but...
No, it was a pity race.
It was a pity race. Exactly.
There's definitely going to be another freaking race, isn't there? I can feel it now. I'm going to have to freaking pull something like that. Because if I lose to him twice, then that's just going to be...
No, then that's really... You should,
Then that's it. I'll never just step on a foot on a track again.
Oh, well, I mean, if that happens, but...
Exactly.
So, another thing... You are so graceful and you handle every situation so classy.
Thank you.
And maybe it's just your accent.
I think it is. Because in my mind, like, grace is the last thing.
To us, it sounds graceful. So that's all that matters. But one of the moments I was watching, there were a couple moments when I was watching the show in general, and I was like, I feel secondhand embarrassment really bad. One was with Ashley when she had that meltdown.
Yeah. Same.
I was like, oh my God. Same. But you kind of chalked it up to, you said, maybe she's still in pain from losing her dad, which I was like, oh, that's such a graceful, nice thing to say, because I was like, she's just crazy.
I think I think with Ashley, there's a number of things going on. And at that moment in time, I was like, I don't know which one it is. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether, Ashley is coming to the table, to this show in a great deal of pain.
Yeah.
Because she's just been through a really traumatic experience. I know what that is.
Yeah, that you can relate to.
Totally. And so I don't know whether she's coming to this, at a place that's too soon for her.
Right.
And whether she's really ready to play. And so there was a part of me that wanted to ask that question of her. Like, are you really ready for this? Is this what you should be really doing right now? You've made the decision. So if you're here, then we're going all in.
Right.
Life is very, very unforgiving.
Yeah.
And so when life is unforgiving and you enter yourself into a competitive game show, you best believe that it's going to be a competitive game show. And it's almost important to be, to a certain extent, reminded of that. Not that I'm trying to play God.
No.
But I wanted her to be like, okay, this is in the same way I take ownership for this and I allow all of this stuff in, the good, the bad, everything. And I felt like there was a certain element of when I said her name, come over to my team and let's put the shoe on the other foot, because you've been inflicting all of that nonsense on my teammates.
Yes.
Come have a taste of your own medicine.
Exactly.
The level of entitlement and the reaction, I thought, was totally expected, because I know Ash, I'd competed with her before, so she's like, oh, she doesn't know who she's messing with. Because we did champs versus pros, crazy back then, so I knew
nothing's changed.
That was going to happen.
Oh man, it was.
But my point is, that's what Ashley does for TV.
Right.
That's her character.
Yeah.
So I wasn't, I was not expecting the level at which she was going to go around and call me a bitch and swear at everybody else and point all of that negativity at everyone else. I can understand a massive blow up and reaction.
Right.
That's TV, great, entertaining, we totally get it. But what I was disappointed by was the level at which she made it personal. Right. And from that point on, she tried to make it this personal vendetta. So, and with me, I'm like, you can have a vendetta, but you're having it with yourself, because Like,
that's like the biggest insult of all.
Yeah, like for me, like if I go into a competition with 10 people,
Yeah.
then 9 people, and there's one number one place, then you got to understand those 9 people are my competitors.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't ever look at these things personally.
No.
And even after, you know, her in reaction and the way in which, you know, she's kind of continued to keep going with that, I'm just like, whatever, like, I'm done, I'm over it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
As you should. I mean, that's the last thing you'd want to waste your time on.
Right.
Oh my God.
So many other things.
Yeah. And just like watching it though, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was just
funny. Did you watch the reunion as well?
Of course. We actually rewatched it today.
You did?
Just for kicks. Man, that was another, like Kayla, I was like, whoa, like, what, are you okay? Like, are you good? What is going on? You know,
the thing that Kayla's an interesting character. She is, she's interesting. You know, I think we spoke about this. I think we've spoken about this, Little Mama and I don't want to give too much away.
Okay.
But I feel like Kayla is the type of person that is bolstered up when she has somebody next to her.
For sure.
And so
for sure.
In the show, when I effectively took and pitted her and Ashley against one another.
Yeah.
And I took that cushion of Ashley away from her. When she said to me in the reunion show, she said to me, why didn't you pick me? And I said to her, because I didn't want you on my team.
Yeah.
And because quite simply, I didn't really want to work with her. Mm-mm. I didn't feel like she's a person that I wanted to put myself around energy-wise at that moment in time, because I feel like a lot of the stuff that comes out of her mouth is very venomous and very negative.
Really, really negative.
And I'm like, I want to say disappointed, but I can't be, because that's her choice. That's, you know what I mean? And so it's like, whatever, I accept that that's what you do and that's not what I do. And so I don't have to necessarily put my, you know, like the nice thing about the challenge is the thing that I feel that I bring to the table is that there's another way to do this show. You don't have to be drunk all the time. You don't have to be spiteful. You don't have to be a bully.
Right. That's the word that really was in my mind, was bully.
Right. And so what I find is really interesting whenever you see a bully in action is the reaction when they then have to deal with a dose of their own medicine.
Right.
And that bully is always like, oh, what? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, okay, so you can't handle it?
You can dish it, but you can't take
it. And so I think, you know, because I know that there are a lot of young people watching the show.
Yeah.
It's important to me that those people come up, meet their match.
Right.
It's important that they meet somebody like myself or Little Mama or, you know, Cam, I think is really good as well. Cam. Who just is literally like, this is nonsense. I'm not taking this. I'm not partaking in this nonsense. And Salita as well, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And Brooke. You know, there was so many great, strong women on the show. And I just feel like, you know what? But this is life. And you have to, it has to reflect reality. You're going to have people who are going to be there trying to push your buttons and get the worst out of you. And then you're going to have people there who want to see you win and will lift you up and will be as happy celebrating your win as much as their own.
Exactly.
And I don't, you know, what I will say about Kayla is she has her moments where she's a really cool person. And then she has her moments where she's a complete dick. So I mean, more of the cool person, please.
Please. It's in there. My favorite line was Brooke with her Jerry Springer.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. Tacky and it's Jerry Springer.
That was the greatest moment for me. That's when it's just so true, though. It was so true. I was like, you know what? It's Jerry Springer.
Excellent.
So you're so fun to watch on the challenge. Would you ever consider doing a regular season of the challenge?
I get asked this so much.
I know.
Like so many times last night, like I think there was about 5 people literally came up to me and was like, are you going to do the proper show? You should do the proper show. I want to do on the proper show. I'm like, what is the obsession with me taking part in the proper show? Like Twitter, constantly, anytime the show's on, bring Louise in. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And, you know, that show's 12 weeks long.
I know.
It's
much bigger commitment.
Yeah. And it's like you're sleeping in a room of like bunk beds. There's no privacy. There's no phone calls.
Right.
Like phone calls on, you know, the schedule of the production. I don't live my life like that. And so, you know, the prize money last year was like 450,000. The prize money this year is $1 million. When we compete on Champs versus Stars, we compete for charity.
Right.
And so there's that element of, I'm doing this for the Baltimore Leadership School.
Yeah,
for
you're
young
not doing
women.
this for yourself, for money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat this plate of marshmallows for charity. I'm going to run up this hill. I'm going to make a fool of myself for charity because I believe in a cause that is greater than myself.
Right.
And my ability to put myself on the line for the benefit of somebody else. Yeah, I'm down for that. Am I ready to step into a house whereby my sanity is going to be pressed?
Really hard.
Is that worth $1 million? I don't know that it is to me.
Yeah.
Yet.
And
so there's a thing for me that I guess the biggest hurdle is I really value my privacy and I really value my sanity. And so if I can get my head around the fact that you're going to be sacrificing this for 12 weeks for a greater cause that isn't just money, because the money thing in my mind is like, $1 million? Okay. Yeah, cool. There are a number of ways to go about it.
Right.
And there are a number of options to go and earn $1 million. To me, that's not a big deal.
Right.
The question is, what's my purpose for being in the show? Because it's not money at all. Like, it's very much about, okay, well, why does the show speak to my heart?
Got it.
What's going to get me to want to push all the way to the final? What's the reason? What's the driving force? I'm like hugely intrinsically motivated, means it really, really comes from within me. And I think on Champs versus Pros, there came to a point where mentally I checked out.
Yeah.
And then on Champs versus Stars, I was in it.
Yeah.
And the difference,
sure.
you know, and so if I were to take part in the main show, if I turned up on that day, then you know that
you're ready to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm ready to fire.
You found a motivation.
Yeah.
To be there.
100%. But right at this very moment, it's not there yet.
No. Are you watching Final Reckoning? What are your thoughts?
So I watched the unveiling of the partners where they were like buried and had to dig them.
Oh, that was great.
God.
I would.
What an opener.
Which would you have rather have been, the digger or the buried, the one who was buried?
The digger.
Yeah,
because you've got to be in control. Like,
well, that's horrifying.
The way in which they did it, like to just cut people if you were the last person.
Oh, that's brutal.
I know. I'd have just been in there. And I loved what Jose did, telling his partner to push.
Yeah.
Push. That was really good.
No, Jose,
he's smart.
He is. He really is. I think he's a little bit underrated.
Yeah,
people
100%.
just like to talk shit on Jose.
Yeah, 100%. And what was really interesting is, he, again, person who understands the game.
And Big Brother.
And I genuinely don't really know how he plays it. I genuinely don't know whether he was throwing games in our show or whether he sucked. I know, obviously, you know, we had the conversation about his ability to swim, so I know that there's nothing he could have done.
Yeah, at least he jumped in, though. I was like, oh my God,
like knowing
really
that you're
brave.
Totally. Knowing that you're not a strong swimmer, and literally jumping in the deep end, there is something, you know, metaphorically really freaking strong about that.
Exactly.
You know, and that's testament to his character. So I have huge respect for him for that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so into this season right now. Yeah. Or is there anyone that you're rooting for?
No,
you just watch it for fun.
Yeah, I'm just like, you know, anyone could come out on top. What I like is when people have their moments to shine.
Right.
So I can remember, you know, as we're going through the process with Champs versus Stars season 3, I was telling people everybody has a role to play. Like, everyone's going to have a moment on the show. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. It's like you have to write and create your own story.
Right.
And so, like in Champs versus Pros, my story was Limegate. You know, like there was a moment I was like, yep, that's what I'm here to do. Yeah,
that was amazing.
And, you know, this was my, like I say, my first introduction to the US. So that, and, you know, the casting directors took a risk on me. They knew I was English. They knew I'd done Ninja Warrior and various other similar kind of formats. They didn't know me personality-wise.
Right. That's a big part of it.
Or my ability to compete, because they'd just never seen enough. And so they're like, oh, we're going to take that girl. What they didn't understand was my ability to create stories.
Right.
And I was just like, this is brilliant.
That's how I feel when I watch the show.
Yeah.
This is brilliant.
I'm going to keep everybody guessing forever. And, you know, one of the most asked questions I get on social media is about the lime.
I was just going to ask you, can you reveal to us the truth about that lime?
No.
Okay. All right.
All I can say is it had either Lolo, Lindsay or Tia's name on it. That's all I can reveal.
All right.
You know that already.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Let's see. So, okay, what were my final question about the challenge? What were your biggest takeaways from being on the challenge?
So, champs versus pros. Actually, this relates back to Ashley, and I don't know whether I've ever told her this.
Yeah.
But I needed that at that moment in time. I needed that show. And I needed the reminder that because I'd been somewhat removed from, and I wouldn't say everyday people because that sounds ridiculous. Just the fact that you can find yourself like, you know, with Ashley and like, you know, in these crazy scenarios like Tia, Lindsay, Gus and, you know, CM Punk and like Wes and CT and Cara Maria.
Cool.
And you're wrapped up in saran wrap like a hot dog, rolling around a field full of dirt and then rolling through vats of ketchup, relish and mustard in order to get onto a bun, and you are a human hot dog. Like, I needed that at that moment in my life. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And you need this reminder because it was like, it was fun. And I was just like, you know what? I had so much fun on that show. And at that moment in time, my life had become very, very focused on work and very serious. Like, yeah, let's do this. I want to do that. And I just needed taking out of that for a moment. And what it made me realize was, you know, it's okay like to be and have ambition, and it's okay to have drive, but don't forget you're here to live as well.
Yeah.
And don't forget to do the two alongside one another.
Right.
Don't be all work, because that's the, you know, the focus that I have sometimes. It can be all work all the time. Know that there is a time to work and there's a time to play.
Yeah.
And you're doing both for the same reason.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good reminder to everybody to remember, you know, as much as you want to be ambitious and work hard, which is so important, if you're not having fun
along the way,
well, you have one life.
Exactly.
So you might as well have fun.
Yay.
Yeah. So shifting gears a little bit, I have to talk to you about the current state of the fitness industry.
Yeah.
Kind of how it pertains to social media. So I just want to hear your thoughts, your take on that.
So, you know, the fitness industry is booming. I think if we look at, you know, if we go so far as back to like the recession, you know, 2008 onwards, and if we look at the boom that there has been and the growth that there's been in the fitness industry since, it's kind of unprecedented at a time when, you know, the recession has hit people and homes are being repossessed, and now we're bouncing back to the point at which we're spending ridiculous amounts on gym memberships and yoga pants and green juice and hair ties and everything in between.
Yeah.
And so what I think that is inevitably, that growth in that industry has brought it's brought the attention of lots of entrepreneurs wanting a piece of the pie. And wanting now to take an advantage of the trend of the healthy lifestyle, which has always been here and always existed in LA. And LA's always been the epicenter to boom these things, whether they be trends or whatever. And so what we've seen with that, with also the massive boom of social media, is we've seen a rise of the influencer, a decline in the use of the expert. And so everyone nowadays is an expert. And so for me, fitness is an interesting industry because having competed like in the world of sport, the purest form of exercise, you know, we do those things. We exercise for that purpose. We exercise so that we can throw that javelin. We exercise so that you can, you know, skate or do whatever that curling to that, you know, to a T, or do that double or triple flip or whatever. And then so fitness effectively is a diluted version of sport. And what I what I guess I have always had issue with is the bridge between fitness and sport, i.e., why don't we use the science that we know exists in sport and apply it to fitness?
Right.
And I found that, that boom in the industry means that we're now seeing these entrepreneurs without the expertise of what we have in sport. And so effectively there's this disconnect. And my vision and my passion is to close the gap and bridge the gap between the two. I want people to be able to experience what Olympic athletes experience. Right. I want you to know what it's like for a person that's competed and trained to the highest level. I want you to know what we do. Like, I want everybody to be able to be like, you know what? There's a better way to do this. There's a better way to train in order to preserve my knees, my back, my joints, and take all of the information that we already know about sport and what elite athletes do and filter it down to fitness. What we end up seeing in the fitness industry is the most marketed product as being the hot new thing, whether that be Barry's boot camp, beach body, so on and so forth, Soul Cycle. Yeah. And, realistically, these things are great. And what I think they're great for is piquing people's interest. Exactly. If that's the thing that gets you hooked on fitness or, gets you out of bed and gets you leading a healthy and active lifestyle, I'm kind of all for it. But be mindful of the fact that these are businesses. Exactly. And their aim is to get as much money out of you as possible and get you addicted. Doesn't necessarily mean, just like the tobacco industry and the, alcohol industry, that those things are good for you. Right. We know that alcohol is bad for us. We know that cigarettes can cause cancer. And you know what? Fitness, if done badly, can cause back problems, knee problems, ankle joint problems, disc bulges, and everything in between. And so what I advise people to do is be very, very mindful of what kind of class you're going to and why. And when you go in there, ask the instructor, I've got, an S3 or S5 disc bulge or whatever it be. How can I, do this session so that it suits me? And if they don't have the answers, walk out and save your body. Yeah. Quite simply, and go and find something, research what's right for you. Because there are, quite simply, CEOs and the owners of these companies haven't competed at that level. No. Aren't qualified in sports medicine, or, they're not the coaches of the Olympic athletes. They stay in sport. And so inevitably what you have are people who are making money out of another industry. It's just like another cigar brand or another vodka brand. They've just found a new way to market and package fitness. Yeah, well, it's kind of false advertising a little bit. And it's these people who are just not as knowledgeable as someone like you, like an Olympian or an Olympic coach who has all the answers. So there definitely is a gap in the industry of people, even people on social media who are like, do you want to look as fit as me? Then, do this ab workout. Yeah. And they really don't know what they're talking about. No. The interesting thing about social media is genetics really do come into play. Yeah, I know. A massive amount. Yeah. And also what we see is not necessarily what we get. Right. How do you know that the picture that you're looking at is real? How do you know that it hasn't been photoshopped? Yeah. How do you know that that's not a Brazilian butt lift? Yeah. Over squats? Exactly. And so, my advice is take Instagram and social media with a pinch of salt. And when it comes to your health and your fitness, really take ownership of that and ask yourself those questions. Okay, before you even go into a training plan or whatever it be, or workout, how do you like to exercise? What type of exercises do you like? Do you like running? Do you like swimming? Do you like cycling? Do you have bad knees, therefore, and a bad back? I.e., what can you be looking at? Do you need physiotherapy treatment? Do you need a chiropractor? Should you be doing exercises like swimming or, cycling that are lower impact? Just because you love HIIT training and you love running doesn't necessarily mean your body loves it. And so I always get people to think long term about how's your body feel today and what do you want it to feel like in 10 years time? What do you want it to look like in 10 years time? Because and whenever I take on a new client, I always get them to think about it in a year. I feel like people can kind of comprehend a year. What are we planning for a year's time? Do you want that role in that television show? And do we have to change your body so that the producers and the director will look at you and see you in a different light. Is the aim to have the best butt on Instagram? Okay, because we're going to need to do some work on that, and we're going to need to spend time doing the work. And, you know, as well as having the best butt on Instagram, how do we make sure that you're also fit and you can also run for the bus or do whatever it is you need to do? So I think people just need to be a little bit more, we're so critical, just be a little bit more thoughtful of what is it you're trying to achieve when you set about your fitness goals and journeys.
Yeah, and I feel like it's almost, you have to love yourself and be supportive of yourself. I feel like so many times, for me for a long time, I was so critical of myself. And if it didn't happen right away,
instantly,
and then I was like, I'm a failure, I can never do this, like I'm never gonna look like this girl. And it wasn't until I really started being supportive of myself that I was able to be like, okay, let's be realistic. And I feel like there's a wealth of knowledge that you just can't right now get on social media. And it's kind of frustrating that there is all this misinformation that's coming at you, and none of it really is the type of knowledge that you were just talking about.
What I think is really interesting is we have this weird moment this weird spate at the moment. You either have the Instagram perfection, get this body in 10 seconds. Do you know what I mean? Like flat tummy tea, you know, before and after, this is what you do. No, like, tell me that this is going to take work. I want tell me I want to know what to expect. Like, what do I have to do? And then the other side of that is like body positivity. This is me, like, on Instagram. This is me also on Instagram. And I feel like we are playing into, everybody's in a narcissist. It's like, you know, on Instagram, you know, I love to use it to engage with people. Like, I think it was just yesterday, I wrote a post, what can I help you with? And the amount of comments that I had, I was just like, okay, I'm going to have to go through these one by one, and it might take me some time. But I see on Instagram a lot of the time with profiles is, this is only serving the person whose account it is. This is allowing them the opportunity to be, whether it be, you know, get the likes and the validation they need, which is fine. Like, but like, be mindful of that too. If you want to like that and like this, you can do everything. Like, I'm guilty of it. There are people's accounts that I follow because I'm like, yo, their life looks good, and they're giving me holiday inspo, and they're giving me fitness inspo, and they're giving me relationship goals. Like, I totally indulge, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, that's not real. Like, I just enjoy it.
Fun.
And so, but my main concern is the fact that, you know, people see these images of perfection that just are not real, and they put those pressures, like you said, you know, putting pressure on yourself about how you feel, because you haven't necessarily reached a target that you set, which actually wasn't bloody realistic in the first place. And going back to what you said about self-love, we just have to be super much kinder to ourselves, and much more gentle with ourselves. You know, it took me 17 years to become an Olympian. And so if every day I'd woken up every day, but like, I'm not an Olympian today. I'm not an Olympian today. Imagine what I'd have been like after 10 years of, I'm not an Olympian today. But the mindset is the opposite. I'm going to be an Olympian. I'm going to be an Olympian.
Keep pushing.
I'm going to be an Olympian. Oh shit, I just hit a hurdle. I'm still going to be an Olympian, you know?
Wow. Is it ever something you would consider going on, like creating a YouTube channel or something like that, and trying to share this knowledge with everybody? Because I've already learned so much just sitting with you for however long. But
I'm so YouTube averse. Like, I have this conversation with producer Raf all the time. I'm YouTube averse. We know we have obviously Slay Sunday on there. And you know, I have subscription plans and videos. I love Instagram.
So you're on Instagram.
I love the platform. I think
they have
great.
Instagram TV now.
That's right. And so we're starting to see kind of longer form videos, which I'd love to be able to, you know, start giving people longer workouts and things that they can do. So, you know, we're working on that, and I'm working on, you know, sponsorships and endorsements that would enable people to tune in for free. Because I do keep a lot of my content, premium content, because the way in which I write it is so crazy technical and scientific behind a payment wall. And I kind of, you know, I want that to be accessible to all. I want everybody to be able to go out there and slay on a daily basis. I want people to decide, you know what, maybe I don't want to slay 6 days a week, but maybe I want to slay 2 days a week, and then 1 day a week I want to do yoga. So I'm working on it. Work in progress. There will be more videos. There will definitely be more content. This is very much the beginning of me finding my voice. I feel like on social media I've been a person who's just been an observer for a while, and I'm now kind of sussing out, okay, where do I fit into this? Because I know I'm not the girl that's going to post belfies all day long, and I know I'm not the girl that's going to post selfies all day long, but I really know that I have a lot of knowledge and experience in my own head, and also in the heads of all of the other incredible people that I meet in the industry, whether it be in fitness, sport, entertainment, music, or just life. And so I feel like there are so many lessons that I'm kind of brought here to bring life to. And I feel like, my platform and the way in which I'm sharing information is basically there to engage and uplift and empower my viewers. I hope that everything that they hear, they learn from.
If you could give like a general piece of advice to anyone out there who wants to slay, and maybe they're in a rut or they've just been given so much misinformation, what's like your biggest piece of advice that you can give to them?
I think the fundamental thing is anybody can achieve a fitness goal within reason, like a realistic fitness goal. Anyone can do it. Doesn't matter what age you are. Like, fitness and health does not discriminate. It's out there to be had. It's a case of how much of it do you want and how much are you willing to work for. And so it's very much about sitting down and working out, okay, what are your beliefs about fitness? Do you think that, and this is really interesting because I get this a lot. I posted a video the other day of me doing an Olympic lift. I was doing some squats, and somebody commented in my DMs, "Oh, your knees, are you supposed to bounce?" And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. This is interesting because, first of all, what you're interpreting and what you're seeing is very different to what's actually happening.
Right.
And so that person clearly has been told squats are bad for your knees. If you squat badly, you will fuck up your knees. That is a fact.
Well, yeah.
And so, I think when it comes to fitness, ask yourself and write down all of the things that and the hang-ups that you've been told, and then write down where they came from. Who told me that squats were bad for my knees? What qualifications did they have? Who told me that I looked, when I felt at my best and my strongest, I looked underweight? And what qualifications did they have to make about me? And then start crossing off all of the things that are nonsense, and you'll end up with a blank list. And then write down all of the things that you know to be true about fitness and health. If I exercise daily, I'll feel better about myself. If I, maybe get down my weight, I'll feel good because I'll fit into those jeans, or maybe I'll just feel like I've achieved something today. I feel like the minute you start crossing off those excuses is the minute you open up your life to good things and kind of good mantras and things that are positive.
That's such a good message to especially send to like young girls. I'm gonna do that when I get home.
Annie's on it.
Yeah, I was just asking that for myself,
make sure you screenshot me your list.
Oh God.
I'm gonna share
you're
it.
Gonna be nauseous. See my list. So I want to talk about Slay Sunday now. Is this your new calling? Are you gonna be
This is my baby.
Yeah.
So like I was saying before, I've had this voice and I've been opinionated for a good 32 years. And I feel like there's a certain element of like suppressing all of my thoughts and feelings. When you're on Twitter or you're on Instagram and you're like, what the hell are they talking about? I'm like, this is actually my place, or my safe place, to come and just be like, blah.
Yeah.
Here it is. This is the person that I am. You get to hear my voice. I think so much on Instagram and fitness, it's pictures, right, or it's somebody squatting. Like, I want to know more about the person.
You can't hear.
Totally. Yeah. And so this is me effectively bearing my whole soul and the soul of others. I think I want it to be a platform where people come in, spill their tea, share, speak their truth. I feel like it's already been a really kind of life-changing experience, that ability to just converse with people and hear people's stories, and not only me learn personally, but know that what people have been through in their personal journeys have the ability of impacting other people. It's definitely a calling. Probably one of 7.
Okay, one of 7. And you've gotten to interview some of the most like influential, cool people. And that must be, nice for them to be able to open up and be asked these questions, but it must be a learning experience for you too. To hear their stories. What's
really interesting is the people that are open to sharing. And one of the most interesting interviews for me to date has been an interview with Sakaya Sandifer, who's the vice president of Yeezy brand, the vice president of Thoughts at Yeezy brand, VP of Thoughts. And really good friend to Kanye West. And Kanye West is almost an enigma. And so chatting with Sakaya about life and his philosophy and how and what he's achieved, and his mindset. He's a person that I feel is very different to most people I meet. He's very kind of unapologetic and is an absolute kind of owner, go-getter. And being able to kind of converse with people who are otherwise low-key. Yet they want to come on, say, Sunday, and they want to talk and they want to open up and they just want to, back and forth. That to me is a huge gift. And I'm very kind of, very grateful for that ability for people just to want to come in and share. It's very powerful. And I'm really grateful and really looking forward to uncovering more stories and meeting more people along the way. I think it's going to be a real movement.
I mean, I am such a fan of this podcast, and I seriously sit there and listen to the whole things. It's just so interesting, the guests, and you're so natural with the questions you ask, and what can we expect? What can we expect in the future for Slay Sunday?
Well, we've got Seal coming on. I'm looking forward to that. So last night he just played at the Hollywood Bowl.
I saw that. On your.
So he said he's doing it. So there's no backing out now.
That's crazy.
You're coming on. We're going to kick it.
Wow.
So we constantly we're in touch probably on at least a weekly basis. So we have this funny relationship whereby there's this one comedian that we love on Instagram called Mo the Comedian, a guy from London. So check him out. And we were like, oh my God, he's posted again. Check this out. This is so funny. And we'll send it and we'll comment. And it's just jokes. I am lucky to have some really inspiring people in my life. And actually, when I kind of sit back and take stock, me and James, Henry, Seal's brother, sit back and we're like, I think I just had a Seal moment. When you just sit back and you've got I'll be sat there and Seal's just, just playing away or making a new song or whatever. And then he'll be making me a bowl of soup or something like that. I'm like, I think I'm having a little Seal moment. This is pretty special.
This is my Seal moment. So how did Slay Sunday come about? Did you just kind of come up with this idea to want to start this, or did you get the idea from somewhere? Why Slay Sunday?
I think it's just absolute timing. Obviously I moved out to LA about a year ago, and I'd been wanting, I felt like I said, I felt like my voice and inner voice had been suppressed for so long. I felt like now's the time for me to just, and the challenge has been a catalyst to that. I felt like that was the first time I could lean into my personality on screen and show my true self. And I'm pretty much kind of running that with Slay Sunday. And so one of my friends actually introduced me to producer Rafi, who I can honestly say this would not exist without him. And it was just that meeting of minds. We sat down, I think in this very studio, and discussed the vision that I had for Slay brand, and how I see it being a podcast and a brand and clothing and workouts and all of those and everything in between. And I could see him, he was almost like a little bit blank. And I'm like, what is this guy thinking? Because normally I'm one of those people, I have so many ideas.
Right.
People are either like, yeah, this girl's like too much.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, no, I get you. He was just super calm.
Yeah.
And what I realized is, you know, as kind of time went on, that we'd both been waiting for this opportunity and the opportunity to meet one another and be on the same page. And once we kind of got to work, it was just like a massive catalyst. I literally felt like I found my buddy.
I know, and it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that for me from a business experience has been massive. Finding someone that can work on the same frequency and level as you, and just as hard. Like, we ran ourselves into the ground. Like, we worked for 3 weeks getting the first interviews out. We literally both felt ill in the third week. Like, I think he was like laid up with man flu for like 10 days. I got over mine real quick. But yeah, we're like, you know, just meeting people that you can kind of parry with and will call you out on your bullshit.
Right.
And that you're kind of answerable to has just been the most amazing experience. And we're very much kind of building this podcast and everything else that we're doing from the ground up. Yeah. And that to me is super empowering. And to be able to go into 2018 with more support than I've ever felt before is a big deal for me, because I've always felt like I've been driving all of my projects together on my own. So to have the support of another person who I know is just as capable, probably better at something. Let's not give him too much credit.
And he's on your team, you know?
Exactly.
And how does that feel? You got Slay. It
like, feels, you know, amazing, because the other thing is the fact that, and I'm going to say this, Raf, the fact that he's a guy that is genuinely interested in uplifting women and putting them on and seeing them do well and congratulating every step of the way means a lot. Because for so long, and you know, I continue to see an element of still kind of suppression. You can be okay, but we don't want you to, you know,
but stay here.
Yeah. And so this is, you know, I feel like I've met a person who wants to see this become as big as it can be and see it all the way through.
Yeah, and it's a difference, you know, someone can say that they're supportive, but it's really their actions and you seeing them doing it. Totally. That's when you know.
And he does work hard. I'm not going to lie. But that's enough about Raf.
Spent too much time. So what does, I know you ask on your Instagram, you say, what does Slay mean to you guys? What does Slay mean to you?
Good question.
Yeah. Raf helped me with that.
Awesome. So yeah, Slay for me is going out there, and I think in this day and age it's about getting your game up.
Yeah.
As much as we could talk about empowerment, you know, empowering women, uplifting women, there's also a level of ownership on us to go out there and take what it is we deserve. And so for me, I feel like this repeated kind of slogan that keeps coming back to me is get your game up. It's up to us to go out there and find the investment for our businesses, for our projects, for our visions. It's up to us to go out there and bridge the gaps in our communities with, you know, women and men. It's up to us to go out there and raise young men and women that will go on to have really healthy, good relationships. It's up to us to take ownership of our health, our wellness, mental, physical, social. And so it very much is, we hear all the time about raising your performance and being the best you. No, this is about getting your game up.
Yeah.
Guys have been doing this for so long and helping one another. This is our time. And how do we help one another? How do we get our game up? And how do we sit there and listen to one another, whether it be male or female, and be like, how can I help you?
Right.
And how can you help me? How can we rise together?
Well, and I feel like this is perfect timing for you just in this day and age of Me Too and Time's Up. you know, the fact that you're doing this now, this is like the most influential time you could be doing it. So yeah,
I'm so excited.
I know. I mean, there's so many exciting things to come. It's fun. So I wanted to play a game.
Oh, go for it. Yeah. What are we playing?
Yeah, I think you know.
I do. Is it all that in a bag of limes?
All that in a bag of limes.
Mm-mm. Oh my goodness. Right, okay, here we go. Guilty pleasure, reality show not on MTV. Ooh.
I have a lot.
Reality TV show not on MTV.
Are you a big reality TV show fan?
Not really, but I did watch Ball of Wives the other night.
Oh, you did?
And I was just like, oh my God, what is this? I can't stop watching. I literally could not stop watching.
I know, that's what they do to you.
I was literally
they reel you in.
I was literally like, what is this trash? I cannot stop watching. I was just like, what is it? Why is she doing that? What's she doing that for? I'm like, oh my God, they've got me.
I'm attached to the characters.
They've got me. I had to switch it off because I felt like I could sit here and burn through a few hours of this. And there's a part of me that's like, you know, like we're in a time whereby seeing people argue on TV is still highly amusing to us.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
We've got issues.
Yeah.
I'm like, I
it's
need to sort out my life.
It's just nice to watch someone with more issues.
Right. It makes us feel wicked about ourselves,
really?
Doesn't it? Right. Okay. So I need to find something that is an equal balance.
Yeah.
That's why I go to Netflix.
Yeah.
I love it. Little Mama, thoughts?
Oh, you kind of already said this.
She's an absolute G, though.
I mean,
so what I will say about Little Mama is this is a girl whose light shines extremely bright and will never be dimmed, no matter what happens to her. She's been through a lot of highs and lows in her life, and she's definitely on the way up. And I'm really expecting big things of her this year. She's going to be on fire. Just keep watching that one.
That's a good answer.
We love her.
Yeah.
Last choice partner, the challenge.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Okay. So let's say you had everyone to choose from.
Yeah. From
to be your partner.
The last show. Who would be my last?
Who would be your last choice?
Out of girls and guys.
Yeah. Who's the
Shane.
Shane.
Because this is the thing.
Elaborate.
Shane, I would not know whether he's there to destroy me or there for me to win. Right. Whereas I know, like, with Ashley, she might hate my guts right now, but she at least wants to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas Shane's kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I don't know what his motivations would be. He'd be fun.
Sneaky
Shane.
Sneakerton.
Okay, fuck, marry, kill. CT Devin the Miz. Whoa. Okay. So I don't know that Devon's married, so I'm going to go, I'm going to fuck Devon. Because I know that CT and The Miz are definitely off the table.
I just like the mix of The Miz in there.
I would, I'd probably marry CT.
Yeah.
I think we all would.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that means The Miz is getting
Kill
killed.
The Miz.
Sorry, The Miz.
Wow.
Love you, brother. Devon. Savage, yeah. Devon. Result. Best day of your life. Overrated and underrated, is that right? In track and field.
Yeah.
Killer. So the funny thing is, when you're on the receiving end of this question, it's actually a real tricky one.
I know.
Okay, so underrated track and field.
Yeah. Athletics. Excuse me.
Yeah, athletics. So I would say the British sprint team.
Okay.
I would say for so long, and this sounds really general, you know, we've been super underrated in the sprints. And now, particularly in the female field and the guys, but predominantly the female field, we have like the best talent coming through. And weirdly, I spoke to Tori Bowie last night. Bowie.
Yeah.
Bowie. She's the fastest woman in the world at the moment, over 100 meters. And I said, how do you feel about the Brits? She said, I feel like if I make one mistake, the girls are coming for me.
Wow.
And so, Yeah, Dina
From the
Rasher
fastest women in
Smith.
the world.
Yeah, from the fastest women in the world. Like, girls, that's the place to be. And don't ever let it be the case that we don't have a British female in the Olympic final.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, there was a spate where it was an achievement to get into the final. You deserve to be there.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've definitely been underrated, and now these girls have got their game up. Slay. Overrated. Track and field, overrated. Yeah. Oh. I was just going to say the Russians. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like everyone, that's their go-to.
Well, like, you know, where else in the world would you have like widespread doping across the whole category? Like, you know, I competed against, in fact, I'm going to name her.
Yeah.
Can't remember her name now. It will come to me. So there was a Russian girl that was convicted of a doping offence that I competed against, and I can remember her coming on the scene around about 2004. She later popped up and got a gold medal in the World Championships, denied Jessica Ennis of her gold medal. And I can remember seeing her, and this is spilling some tea.
Yeah.
This is spilling some Olympic tea. I remember seeing her in competition. Now, in competition, you're not allowed to receive anything from like the crowd. The rules are. And her father would have her water bottle, and he would pass it to her over the fence or whatever it be. And her father was also a coach, and she would take her sip, and then the bottle would go straight back to.
Shut up.
Yeah. And then there have been a number of occasions where in the infield there have been like vials and stuff like that, broken vials. And so, yeah, overrated. Oh my gosh, what is her name? It's going to come back to me, but I'm going to name and shame.
Did you watch that documentary on Netflix about
yeah.
Crazy.
The level at which they'll go to cheat a doping
I mean,
test.
come on. And it just sucks. Like you just said, Jessica Ennis was denied.
Yeah.
Like,
and so, you know, so was
so many other people, but it's just like.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is when you finish, like in the Olympics, I finished way down in the rankings, and my position continues to get better and better because of the amount of people that have been done for doping offences. Wow. Yeah, no, her name escapes me. But I'm coming back for you.
She's lucky.
Would you try veganism?
Yes.
I'd do it for a week.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'd go vegan for a week.
I'm asking because I'm vegan.
You are?
And we were just talking about...
You cancelled.
Yeah, no. Give it a chance.
I mean, so what I find about LA is everyone comes from LA and goes vegan.
That's the...
Talk to me.
I know. It's such like the stereotype. Everyone's like, oh, like vegan.
How did you feel? When did you go vegan?
Okay, so I was... Back when I was in college, I was studying abroad in Spain.
Yeah.
And I went vegan in Spain, which is really weird because it's like the meat capital.
Yeah.
But I watched a couple different documentaries, and it's something that I had been interested in. I was vegetarian.
Yeah. Tatiana Chinova. That's the Russian girl. Sorry.
Tatiana Chinova. All right.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Go for it.
I watched all these documentaries, and one is Tia from Champs First Pro. She's vegan.
Yeah, I know.
Her. But I was like, oh my God, I just was so uneducated on what it did to your health, what it did to the environment. And then I'm the biggest animal lover ever. And just watching the animals in these cages, like screaming, I was like, I just can't participate.
Yeah.
And so at first I was super aggressive about it. If anyone wasn't vegan, I was like...
You were angry vegan.
Yeah. And I was like, I realized...
Levels.
Oh yeah. I was like the total stereotype of the angry vegan that everyone hates. And I was like, okay, like I hated me back then too. But so far I've calmed down a lot, and I've turned vegan. Like 4 people vegan.
Wow.
Yeah.
The vegan convert. Oh my God.
Yeah, but it's like...
Does that mean I'm going to go vegan?
You have to try
it. Why don't we'll make a date. We'll go, you take me to like a vegan cafe. We'll Instagram my responses. You can introduce me to the food.
Oh, I have the best restaurant.
I mean, I've been to a couple, and I don't mind, you know, I always find like one day a week, I'll go meat free.
Yeah.
I really struggle to cut out eggs. Like for me, eggs is a hard one.
Well, you know, it's one thing at a time. For me,
Did you go cold turkey?
No.
Excuse the pun.
No, I mean, giving up meat and fish, I just never loved it.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a big
I love
deal.
chicken and fish.
Yeah, well, but
I don't think I could give up fish.
well, my thing was cheese. I loved cheese.
See, I can give or take cheese.
Yeah, no,
bothered.
see, I really was having trouble. And it's like little things like M&Ms have like dairy. So I was like, I can't do this. So it took a long time, but it was just one of those things like every morning I had to remind myself, this is why I'm doing this. This is who I'm doing this for.
So in your mind, it was all animal.
Yeah, I mean, the other things like...
What happened body-wise? Did you notice like in terms of the way in which your body was responding?
Yeah, I mean, I lost 10 pounds like really fast. I was like, what? Like I was carrying around this extra weight and I lost the weight and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I've been trying to get this weight off, but I was eating like an idiot. Yeah. And so I lost this weight and then my skin cleared up so much. I used to have really bad skin and it completely cleared up and I was just happy. When I was in college, I was like so stressed and I was always sad and depressed. And when I went vegan, I was like, oh my God, like I feel lighter. I'm just like happier.
Do you think it made you more mindful?
Totally.
See, this is a really interesting thing. I think when you are mindful of the things you're putting in your body, like I'm drinking water because it's, you know, I mean, I want to hydrate and there's a purpose, then I think it has a crazy ability to heal because you've thought about it.
Totally.
Like you've thought about, okay, what am I putting in my system and why? Like what am I nourishing my system with? You know, I think the cycle is around about every 30 odd days your cells kind of renew.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you eat shit, your body becomes shit. Yeah. You look like shit, you feel like shit. You know, your skin looks like shit, you're shit. And then you eat good, your skin clears up, you feel better, you feel less bloated. You know, all of these kind of chemical reactions almost happen in your body and you radiate health.
Exactly.
It's a very interesting thing. I still don't think I could give up.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, well, it was so my mom was diagnosed with cancer. They said, oh, you don't have much time. Like it's not, you know. So we were like, I was like, what? She went vegan and she lasted 8 more years.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's also why I went vegan.
Yeah.
We did it kind of together.
Got you.
And so I was like, if I see that work for her, then I want everyone to know about this. I want everyone to do this.
And at the time, like when she was diagnosed, did she still look the picture of health?
Completely. I mean, she like played tennis every day. She was always working out. I mean, she was like super fit, but she looked healthy. So you would have no idea. Like she worked out every day, sometimes twice a day. Like she was really fit. So it was just like, what? Like completely shocking. Yeah. And then she changed the way she ate and she survived 8 more years, which was really cool. So I was like, this is a miracle. Veganism. Yeah.
I think there's a really interesting thing, the way in which we kind of reward ourselves with bad food.
I know. Yeah.
This is so messed up.
Yeah.
It's like, yay, you had a good exam. Do you want an ice cream?
Exactly.
And it's like, and you know, I'm lactose intolerant, but I love ice cream.
I know.
So, and I think that we have to be really, really aware of the way in which we raise our children.
I know. Yeah.
To think about food and the way we reward them with sweet treats or want a Happy Meal or whatever. Yeah. And the way we come to associate food or certain foods with a reward.
Right.
You know, I genuinely believe go to In-N-Out Burger. I bloody love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Great.
There's a time and a place for all of these things. But we have to be very mindful of what we're reinforcing in the next generation that we're raising, which is the association. If you do good, then have something that's unhealthy for you.
Why does that make sense?
Or have a treat. Right. You know? When actually you should just have a treat because you want a treat.
Yeah, not because you're rewarding yourself.
Right. And you should aim to just reward yourself every day with things that are there to kind of nourish your system and taste good.
Exactly.
And put the time and effort or the expense in, like you would spend money on a new car.
Right.
Spend money on your engine first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, my mom always used to say, she's like, you wouldn't put shit fuel in your car. It's going to break down. Why would you do that to your body?
Exactly. If you owned a Ferrari, you wouldn't put in the cheapest.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You're going to put in the best because you want it to run smoothly. Yeah, so
that's the one. Right, I think we've got one more of these left. Tatiana Tanova. Thoughts. Shane's blow up on Casper. Oh my God, yeah.
That's a good spot to end.
He was like, at least I didn't F somebody famous.
I know. I was like, that was crazy.
And you know what? Like, Casper is
nasty.
Casper is like one of the dopest human beings that I've met whilst I'm in LA. He is so hospitable. He's so warm. Like, you go over his house and he's less like, oh, you want oranges? Just take some from the tree or whatever. Like, he is such a lovely, lovely person. And he's very, very private, deeply private, and deeply private of his relationships because he really values them.
Yeah.
So for Shane to throw a real low blow about his past relationship, like with J-Lo, it is what it is. That's a part of his life. You know, he was with her for a long period, and you know, you have to respect people's privacy.
Right.
Like, we don't know about your relationship, Shane.
Yeah.
Because no one's interested.
Right.
Quite simply. And to assume that somebody like Casper has no other value than that. Outrageous.
I was
one of the most talented.
I mean, yeah, I thought he really was. I thought he was so funny, so cool. Like, I loved his commentary. Like, from the beginning, I was like, Casper's the best. Yeah. Like, I don't care what anyone says. I love Casper.
And what I loved about him is, and I remember at the reunion, I remember we were texting, I'm like, what are you wearing? I said to him, what are you wearing? I'm like, babe, we've got to go flat out. Me, Mama, Jose, and you were going flat out, balls to the wall. He's like, okay, I'm going to wear a tux. I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to wear black too. And away we went, and the villains came out looking like something out of Batman.
Yeah.
And you know, what I loved about him during the reunion show was his composure. And I was just like, you know,
class.
People can throw and sling shit at you. And he's just like, yeah, whatever, you know.
Doesn't let it get to him.
Exactly, because he knows his truth and he has a very strong sense of self. And for a person that's like still fairly young, what he's accomplished in his life, like, is not because of, you know, it's not because he's been and dated one of the most famous women in the world. I mean, that's
just like the stupidest logic.
It's because he is who he is. And when I met him, I was just like, whoa, Casper's dope. And like, I obviously come from the UK, so I'd only ever seen the celebrity side of him, red carpets and stuff like that. And I can remember when we first met in the hotel, he was sat there, cap down really low, proper had his celebrity game on. And I was kind of like, oh, I'm not, you know, we'll see. And then as he kind of warmed up, we'll see about Casper. I wasn't quite sure, you know, I don't think he was quite sure, and he was very much assessing the situation as to how much he was going to give of himself. He already said it. We talked about him. He doesn't really do reality TV. He's super, super private. And so, yeah, oh God, he was just an absolute blessing in disguise. And just the way he came out and his personality, and he was just like completely unapologetic. No, I'm gunning for all of you. I was just like, that's my spirit animal. Partner for life. Yeah,
well, I want to thank you so much for letting me take over your seat.
Annie, you smashed it. Yeah, you might just have to come in. Like, if I'm going to go on holiday, you're going to have to step
in. All right.
You know that,
I mean, I'll accept that challenge.
Brilliant.
Yay. Thank you.